welcome back. Today, we join a dedicated craftsman as he attempts to revive machines most would dismiss as total salvage. Decades of exposure have stripped this sedan to a decaying shell, leaving behind shattered glass and nesting debris. The first phase requires clearing this contaminated layer just to assess the remaining structural integrity. Hours into the teardown, the true scale of the decay becomes visible. He strips the cabin to its bones, pulling away the compromised dashboard and brittle electrical harnesses. Decades-old wiring, insulation hardens, and fractures. Applying power to these degraded lines creates an immediate fire hazard, so every circuit must be removed. As the ventilation ducts and degraded floor insulation come out, the firewall is finally exposed. Trapped moisture under factory sound-deadening material is a primary catalyst for floor pan rot. By peeling back this silver heat tape, he can identify hidden oxidation before it breaches the undercarriage. The goal is a completely sterile shell. Moving to the rear quarters, the molded plastic trim and trunk wiring are extracted. Rust advances aggressively in enclosed, unventilated spaces where condensation collects. He pulls the tangled bundles of electrical lines out entirely, clearing the transmission tunnel. This provides access to unbolt the seized handbrake assembly. Up above, the sagging headliner and sun visors are torn away. The fabric and underlying foam have long since degraded, absorbing mold and atmospheric moisture. Stripping the roof lining bare removes this lingering contamination. It also exposes the upper steel framework for structural inspection. A proper restoration requires starting from absolute zero. With the shell stripped, attention shifts to localized bodywork. An angle grinder aggressively cuts away the surface oxidation, reaching down to healthy steel. Modern automotive finishes cannot bond to a compromised, rusted base. Once the metal is leveled, he spreads a thin layer of body filler to correct the pitted texture. The compound is shaped manually with a metal file and a sanding block. This process relies heavily on tactile feedback. Hands can detect microscopic high spots that the eye easily misses. After the surface is perfectly uniform, a high-build black primer is sprayed and force-dried. The applied heat accelerates solvent evaporation, locking out moisture before the base color goes on. To achieve a truly reflective finish, the cured primer is meticulously wet-sanded. The water acts as a lubricant, preventing the abrasive paper from clogging. It cuts the surface perfectly flat, ensuring no texture telegraphs through the final layers. He wipes away the residual slurry, leaving a smooth, matte foundation. Next comes the specialized clear coat. Applied in deliberate, overlapping passes, This layer provides deep gloss and crucial ultraviolet protection. The fluid dynamics of the clear coat allow it to flow and self-level. It cross-links into a durable, hardened shell shortly after application. The result is a highly reflective surface, proving that rigorous preparation dictates the final quality. The large, flat expanse of the hood presents a completely different structural challenge. He begins by tapping the internal bracing with a small hammer. This diagnostic technique relies on acoustics to locate separated welds and hidden metal fatigue. Loose bracing causes the outer skin to vibrate and flex at highway speeds. That continuous flexing would inevitably shatter a fresh paint job. He secures these weak points with a welding torch, restoring the panel's rigidity. The new welds are hammered flush, and white body filler is applied to level the heat distortion. Working in tandem, they block sand the long curves until the exterior contours are perfectly continuous. With the groundwork perfectly laid, the final black topcoat is applied. Solid black is notoriously unforgiving in automotive restoration. It acts as a dark mirror, amplifying the slightest defect in the underlying bodywork. Laying down a uniform coat over a large horizontal panel requires exact spray gun control. The craftsman moves with a steady rhythm, ensuring the wet edges blend seamlessly. As the solvents evaporate and the paint lays flat, the sheer depth of the finish is revealed. It is a striking transformation from a warped, rusted sheet to a flawless exterior panel. While the freshly painted panels cure, focus shifts to the mechanical driveline. The transmission housing is cracked open, revealing gears heavily coated in degraded sludge. Old gear oil breaks down over decades of neglect. It loses its lubricating viscosity and turns into a thick paste that accelerates bearing wear. He drains the contaminated fluid and systematically pulls the internal components. A specialized gear puller is utilized to extract seized items from the main shaft. This prevents accidental damage to the fragile gear teeth. With the internals separated, the exterior casing undergoes aggressive decontamination. A wire brush and angle grinder strip away the baked-on grease and aluminum oxidation. Finally, a fresh coat of high-temperature silver paint is applied to the housing. This seals the porous cast aluminum, providing a durable barrier against future corrosion. Rebuilding the drivetrain continues with the heavy rear axle assembly. The technicians align the differential housing on the floor, focusing on the critical pinion flange. The internal seals in a differential perform a vital two-way function. They retain the heavy gear oil while preventing abrasive road dirt from entering the housing. Using a metal punch and hammer, a new seal is carefully seated. Driving this seal squarely is critical. Any unevenness during installation will cause a high-speed fluid leak under operational pressure. With the seal in place, the potential bolts are torqued down to finalize the assembly. The true heart of the restoration lies in the seized engine block. Teardown begins by stripping the external accessories, starting with the heavily corroded water pump. Cooling systems often suffer the most damage in abandoned vehicles. Stagnant coolant causes internal rust that eventually locks the mechanical impeller solid. Removing the top valve cover finally exposes the internal camshaft assembly. These top-end components are coated in a thick layer of burnt, oxidized oil. This heavy varnish indicates the engine suffered from severe thermal stress long before it was parked. Every single valve component must now be rigorously degreased. Moving to the bottom end, the rusted clutch assembly is unbolted and discarded. Next, the heavy steel oil pan is lifted away, revealing the lower rotating assembly. The remaining oil is thick and tar-like, having completely lost its chemical lubricating properties. The mechanic loosens the bearing caps to inspect the machined surfaces of the crankshaft journals. These critical friction points endure immense physical stress. They rely entirely on a micro-thin film of pressurized oil to prevent catastrophic metal-on-metal contact. After wiping the journals clean, he rotates the heavy steel crank by hand. This tactile check ensures there is no deep scoring binding the rotational mass. The bare cast iron block is wire-wheeled, clean and sealed with a high-heat primer. This protective layer locks out exterior rust and oil saturation. Inside, the cleaned pistons are fitted with new compression rings. A specialized collar tool compresses these high-tension rings, allowing the piston to slide safely into the cylinder bore. Generous amounts of fresh oil provide vital lubrication for the initial startup. Finally, a torque wrench secures the connecting rods to the crankshaft with exact tension. Precise clamping force prevents the fasteners from vibrating loose under heavy combustion loads. The rebuilt lower end is finalized by bolting in the oil pickup tube. This tube acts as the primary circulatory intake for the engine's entire lubrication system. At the front of the block, the timing chain and sprockets are precisely aligned. Proper mechanical synchronization is absolute. Even a single gear tooth of misalignment can cause the pistons to violently collide with the valves. The front cover is tapped into place, completely shielding the rotating assembly. To seal the bottom, a continuous bead of liquid gasket is applied. This flexible silicone compound cures to form an impermeable, oil-tight barrier across the mating surfaces. The engine nears completion as the external accessories are bolted securely into place. The valve cover caps the cylinder head, while the exhaust manifold is secured to manage outbound combustion gases. The distributor and rebuilt carburetor are mounted, restoring the synchronized delivery of fuel and spark. At the front, the main pulley and mechanical cooling fan are tightened down. Finally, the new clutch pressure plate is torqued to the rear flywheel. What began as a seized, oil-caked block of scrap is now a meticulously timed and sealed power plant. Every hidden tolerance they corrected is what its future reliability now rests on. The resurrection of the core is complete, and the machine is ready to run.